No one wants to be unseen or unheard or unvalued. We all long to fit in and to be liked by other people, or at the very least have our presence acknowledged. We want to feel like the person that we are is something that others find value in and invest their attention towards. Nobody truly enjoys feeling invisible. The reality is, not everyone will see you. Not everyone will hear you. People will straight up ignore you. But the key is to learn how to be okay with it and see yourself anyways. And by doing so, develop the courage to be unseen. Hello, and welcome to Learn to Love You, a channel and a community where I want to help you to learn to love yourself because learning how to do so has changed my life. Hello everybody, welcome back to Learn to Love You. If this is your first time here, welcome to Learn to Love You. And if you're returning, welcome back. It's great to see you again. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that's a little bit different because there's so many videos on YouTube that talk about the courage to be seen. However, this week I'm going to switch it up and we're going to talk about the courage of being unseen because this is actually a fear that a lot of people carry, which is never really talked about. So I really wanted to make a video on this, bringing this to light. But before we get started, make sure to check out the Learn to Love You podcast. It's linked in the description of this video. And yes, I know I look buff in this shirt. That's why I'm wearing it, so I could flex on you. I'll be going to the gym. I'll be going every day. Okay, every other day, I'd say. But without further ado, let's talk about this. Being seen by others is something that we all crave and long for. We all want to be seen, acknowledged, heard, and accepted by those around us. Why do you think that people go to the crazy extent of doing dangerous trends online just for clout?
The mouth taping challenge
goes like this one. Show a coin being dropped between the prongs of a phone charger.
Benadryl challenge is when you take 12 Benadryls to hallucinate.
It's because being seen is literally about survival, and they'll do whatever it takes. And this tendency that we carry came from a very young age. In fact, I think we were even born with it. There's an experiment done by Dr. Ed Tronick called the still face experiment. In this experiment, we have a mother and a baby. At the beginning of the experiment, the mom interacts and responds to the baby's communication with very expressive body language and vivid facial expressions. But during the second part of the experiment, the mom stops interacting with the baby altogether and just gives her a stone-cold face with no expression. The baby tries to get the mom to continue interacting with her, but the more that she receives no response from the mother, the more upset she becomes until she starts crying. It becomes almost unbearable for the baby to receive no response from the mother. Although none of us are babies anymore, we still carry around the same responses when it comes to social interaction. Being acknowledged feels good. It caters to our human need of belonging and acceptance. On the other hand, being ignored literally feels like death, and being socially rejected literally feels like it's a compromise to our survival. This is why so many people go to the lengths that they do for attention, because they're literally afraid to die. Okay, maybe you won't physically die right then and there if you're not getting any attention, but in a way, you might feel like a part of you inside is dying. And this is just an evolutionary response. Our ancestors back in the hunter-gatherer times needed a community in order to survive. Lord forbid that you were the only one outside of the tribe one day using the bathroom, and then a lion was in the distance contemplating if you taste better stir-fried or oven-baked. And this is why we evolved to need a community and to need social acceptance, because it actually caters to our longevity and our overall health. However, in recent years, loneliness has been on the rise, and many people from young to old people feel like they're lacking a sense of community. And there are also cases of loneliness where people are in a community of those who are their own demographic, but they still struggle to make connections with those people, so they end up feeling very alone and isolated. And this was me in high school. Although I was surrounded by people my own age, connections were very few and far in between for me, and at times I really felt isolated and by myself. However, I feel like the hardest thing about that entire experience was just feeling unseen and unheard and unacknowledged by the people around me. And my family also tried to support me through that time, but at the same time I felt like I was lacking the support that I actually needed. And so I felt very unheard in that time of my life. And it wasn't just high school, there have been plenty of other times since then where I've experienced these feelings of feeling unseen, and I understand how difficult they can be. But I suppose what all those experiences taught me is the reality that you're not always going to be seen. And when you're not seen by other people, it's up to you to see yourself and learn to develop the courage to be unseen. Okay, well, that all sounds awesome on paper. But how could I develop this courage? I first want you to understand that there will always be people out there who will not see you, hear you, or acknowledge you. But when they don't see, hear, or acknowledge us, sometimes we take that as a personal attack. I want you to take it less personally if you can. Because when this happens, we tend to get in our heads and we start thinking, well, if this person didn't say hello to me or acknowledge me, then they must not like me. Or if this person talked over me and didn't give me a chance to speak, then they obviously don't care about what I have to say, and I should just be quiet and keep to myself. Or if this person didn't check out my art, or they didn't like something that I created, then it's an awful creation and I should have just kept it to myself. Now, these are all things that I've personally thought, and if you've had any of these thoughts, if you're anything like me, then you're in the right place today. One of the main ways that we suffer in life is through personalization. It's when we hold the actions or the inactions of another person, and we let those things define our worth or say something about who we are. When we do this, we often have a very hard time accepting ourselves, and we believe that these people who aren't acknowledging us probably see something wrong with us that needs to be changed or fixed, and that's why they don't want to see us or they don't want to interact with us. But let's do a little experiment here, shall we? Make sure to get your test tubes out because we're going to science school. And this experiment is going to be called the flipped perspectives experiment. In this experiment, I want you to think of one instance where you felt unseen, unheard, or unacknowledged by someone else. In this experiment, we're going to try to see the perspective of the person that made us feel unseen, unheard, or unacknowledged. And we can get as delusional as we want to here. The thing is, we can't read other people's minds, so we can make up our own assumptions. Here's the first example. Say someone ignores you entirely. They don't even pay you attention. They don't even look your way. They don't even say hello to you. They literally pretend that you do not exist. I want you to see the possibility that maybe this person just isn't brave enough to talk to you. Maybe they're intimidated by you. Maybe you intimidate them. Maybe, you're too hot for them. They don't want to, get involved because, they're kind of insecure. Maybe they just don't know how to talk to new people. Maybe they're afraid that you might see something wrong with them, and they're afraid of your perception of them. Or for the next example, let's say that someone talks over you all the time, cuts you off, and just makes you feel unheard. I want you to see the possibility that maybe this person has a hard time listening to others. Maybe they struggle to make connections and lasting friendships because they just can't take the time to listen to their friends. Maybe they just don't have the capacity to shut up and give someone else a chance to speak. It could be anything. Just get as creative as you want to here. And the last example here, this one's going to get kind of deep. Let's say that someone always invalidates your emotions or your feelings, or always criticizes you for feeling the way that you do. And this starts making you feel like what you're experiencing is wrong or invalid. I want you to understand that maybe this person just struggles to validate and find space to hold their own emotions. Maybe they don't have great emotional regulation skills, so they can't give that to someone else. Maybe they're shutting down your feelings because they don't know how to deal with their own, or they can't really hold space for someone else when they're suffering, so it makes them uncomfortable. And you'll start to realize that their behavior is merely just a projection of what they're dealing with inside. And you have to ask yourself, is there something wrong with how I'm feeling? Or is the problem their own? I want you to understand from all of this that the way people treat you says a lot more about them and their capacity at connection than it does about you and your experiences. The way that people treat others is a reflection of who they are inside. It magnifies their own triggers and their own biases and their own state of being. Especially if you did not make a personal attack on someone and they're choosing to ignore you or mistreat you. That says way more about them than it does about you. And just because they don't have the space to see you doesn't mean that it's your fault. Sometimes people are just not going to be able to provide that for you. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other people out there who will have the space to see you. Another way to develop the courage to be unseen is to just keep shining anyways. And what I mean by this is that so many people tend to give up on their dreams, give up on their work, give up on the things that make them feel good and that they want to accomplish because other people aren't validating them or seeing them or acknowledging them. Say you really wanted to share something with someone that you were really passionate about, like a project you were working on, or some new music, or a book you were writing, or just some creative project that you were really passionate about. And you show this person, and then they don't give you the response that you wanted them to give you. They don't really give you an enthusiastic response. Or you show a lot of people, but nobody really checks it out or gives it the time of day. And when this happens, this makes a lot of people feel very discouraged about their own creations and makes people want to throw in the towel and give up altogether because other people aren't acknowledging their work. But I want you to know that Vera Wang, a very popular fashion designer, did not sell her first dress until she was 41 years old. Her passions and creations were unseen and unacknowledged by the outside world for a very long time before she got recognized. But had she caved in and given up because she might have felt unseen, she would not be the famous designer that we all know today. I want you to understand that just because people might not be thrilled about what you're passionate about or give it the time of day, does not mean that you have to let their apathy make you stop pursuing it. The thing is, not everyone is going to love what you're doing or give it the time of day or give it a fair chance to begin with. But just because they don't, doesn't mean that you should give them the power to make you stop doing what you love to do. Even if you're not getting a lot of recognition right now or you're not being seen by the masses, does not mean that you have to throw in the towel because you're not being seen. Keep shining anyway. I started posting on this channel about 3 months ago, and my audience is very small right now. And on my podcast, it's even smaller. Go check out my podcast, by the way. I'm not getting millions of views yet, or going viral yet, or getting lots of engagement yet. Emphasis on the yet, okay? But just because I'm not getting tons of engagement or getting tons of views or being seen by a lot of people does not mean that I want to stop making these. This right here, this is my pride and joy. I feel deeply passionate about every single video that I make. I put love and creation and my whole heart and soul into making every single video. And just because other people don't see it does not mean that I'm gonna stop right here. Like, what? How dare I even consider that? And in my mind, my channel doesn't have to blow up and it doesn't have to become super duper popular in order for it to be a good channel and in order for the videos to be good videos. And I understand that my content's not going to be for everyone and not everyone's going to watch it or give it the time of day or acknowledge it, but I'm not going to stop creating because of that. Because this is something that I truly love to do, and I get excited every single time I press record because I know that someone's going to be helped by this. So as long as I enjoy doing it, it doesn't matter how many other people acknowledge it. So even if people don't see, hear, acknowledge, or understand your contributions to this world, that does not mean that you have to stop shining. That doesn't mean that you have to stop creating because they're not acknowledging it, because they're not recognizing it. If you love it, if it makes you excited, keep doing it. Keep giving yourself permission to continue creating, regardless of the recognition, regardless of the views, regardless of the engagement. Just keep doing something that makes you smile, because life is too short to just stop because other people aren't acknowledging you. On a quick side note though, just because something is seen does not make that thing valuable, and just because something is unseen doesn't make that thing invaluable. Say you're in the desert treasure hunting or something, and all you see on the surface is just rock, sand, dust for miles, but little do you know that deep below the surface, a couple feet down, there's a whole mine filled with gold. But just because that gold is unseen doesn't take away from its value. And just because you're unseen or your work is unseen doesn't take away from your value or your work's value. I want to leave you with this. When no one sees you or hears you or acknowledges you, this is when you're called to give this to yourself. In order to see ourselves, we have to be willing to hold space for ourselves without judgment. We have to let ourselves feel the way that we do and allow ourselves to express ourselves in the way that feels right to us, and learn to acknowledge all the experiences that we have and hold our hands through them. Just as you would want someone else to show up for you, you have to practice showing up for yourself. If you want to be seen more, look for things about yourself that you admire and work on crafting a lens of love for you to see yourself through. If you want to be heard more, tell yourself the thoughts and ideas that you have and really listen to them, really take account into them, really tune yourself into them, and validate each one. If you want to be acknowledged more, acknowledge yourself for all the progress that you've made, all the accomplishments that you've accomplished, and celebrate yourself more often. We have to start in small ways of building a safe space for us to return to and a safe space for us to come home to. And this starts with choosing to see yourself more and giving yourself that acknowledgement that you crave from other people. Wow, the sun really just came out right now. Honestly, if only I started recording right now. Look at this lighting, it's terrific. And although it might be hard to feel invisible or hard to feel unrecognized, you'll realize that you can start giving that recognition to yourself. And in turn, this will help you to develop the courage to be unseen. And I just want you to know that even if you do feel invisible, I promise you that there are people out there who do see you, who do notice you, who do acknowledge you and value you. And even if you don't know them, even if they haven't talked to you yet, there are always people out there who are looking out for you, who are admiring you from a distance, and maybe they just don't have the bravery to tell you that, but I promise you that you are always seen by somebody. But self-love is a quest. It's a never-ending journey that we must go on in order to have happier and healthier lives. So allow me to take this journey with you and allow me to be your guide along the way. And we will learn to love ourselves together, day by day, little by little, and piece by piece. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it today, please hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button down below. And I love making these videos for you guys. Every time I make one, I genuinely feel this deep love and this deep excitement and satisfaction. But even if it hurts or it feels totally isolating and unbearable at times, realize that you can give yourself what you desire from others, and you can be that love for yourself. And I will always believe in you, but I just want you to believe in yourself. I'll see you next time. And just realize that I see you. I genuinely do, and I care about you, and I genuinely want you to just have the best day ever and to thrive in this life. Like, talk to me anytime. My DMs are always open. Literally shoot me a message and I'm gonna get back to you.